Yeah, I think it's the judiciary in any government. You have three arms of government. You have the executive, you have the legislature, and the judiciary. And the judiciary is the is the arbiter in all matters. In all matters. With a very that is what ought to be, and fortunately it's been like that in Nigeria. But the issue is, or the issue has been, to what extent is the judiciary allowed to play its role? Because, like people always say, like in democratic practice in Nigeria, we started in 1999 when the Fourth Republic started in 1999, and we've always had the executive in the form of the military. We've always had the legislature, and we've always had the judiciary. Then we now have we don't had the lawmaking body, which is the legislative arm of government. That said, during the military, because of our military indoctrination, because of our experience with the military, the judiciary was not allowed to operate as an independent arm of government. And unfortunately, even with the advent of the Fourth Republic, we still had instances where the executive, because of the control it has over resources, tend to interfere with the judiciary in terms of playing its role as an arbiter in our society. I think that's a major concern for now.
That's a major concern.
Yes, and and we have thought that with President Jonathan conceding defeat, he raised the bar for how tolerant and how abiding, how fidel a politician can be. President Jonathan made it possible. I mean, what was before that time? What was deemed impossible? President Jonathan made it possible for Nigerians to instill confidence in Nigeria that politicians there can be an electoral process, and the outcomes are announced, and political actors have implicit confidence in that process and abide with it without resorting to law courts. But unfortunately, with the APC in power, we have thought that they will raise the bar. But we've seen that there's this saying that the morning tells the day. If a party cannot manage its internal democratic process right, if a party that has engaged in that has conducted primaries cannot deliver well, people cannot come and face party primaries and win or lose and accept the outcome in good faith. I mean, it sends very disturbing signals about what to expect as we inch towards the general elections in 2019.
Okay. All right. And also we have a legal practitioner in the studios this morning, Mr. Tony Dogo. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes. On this particular question, what would you say?
Well, the idea behind the separation of power, okay, is to have checks and balances, from all the arms from the three arms: the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive. And the truth is that we can never have a virile democracy without the democracy. Without the judiciary.
Yeah.
Judiciary is actually the arbiter, okay? It's supposed to check abuses, because there are propensities for abuses from both the executive and the legislature. Like we have seen very rampant in our country, a lot of abuses, a lot of things taken for granted, and all of that. So we need to have a strong judiciary, an independent judiciary, and since democracy started, I think, there was a time when we were not, judiciary was not that independent, because their funding was not on the first line charge, particularly in the states, the governor, could whatever he wanted, they just bring the budget, and anytime, they were just giving they'll bring a budget, he will release today, and then next time when he wakes up and he feels better, he releases, because he just to have them under his control. Whenever they need money, they come, and then maybe they negotiate, okay, we'll give it, and all of that. So, and that's not good for any democracy at all, And so I think somehow we're able to overcome that, under the PDP, they got independent, rather independence, and then what they need to do now is to actually put their foot down, because there are a lot of things that are happening, and some people have this misgivings that the judiciary is colluding with some politicians, because some of the judgments that come out are conflicting, and particularly in a situation where a high court in a state will give a judgment concerning a particular subject, and the same people will go to another court in another state. This court, being mindful that a judgment had been given in perhaps Abia State, will also give another judgment. All that was not good for our democracy. But I thank God the CJN that we have now is a very serious man. He's a very, 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 very serious man. He doesn't brook with those kind of shenanigans. Okay, and so things are beginning to change small, but like we said, but then if you look, for instance, at what is going on in Akwa Ibom, okay, where we have about 8 legislators, trying to impeach a speaker who has about 20, I think a house of about 26 members or so, and then 8 people want to over. See, these are things that we don't expect from people who are lawmakers. You know the law. You know that the law says you need to remove the speaker.
Yeah.
Or even if you want to impeach the governor. Now, you didn't do that. You just came in, because you have support of some powers. You forced your way in, and for somehow you were able to get a mace from somewhere, and in any case, the problem was that they decamped. They decamped to another party, and the law says that if you decamp when there are no crisis in your party, no factionalization, if you cannot prove that, then of course you lose your seat. Now, they decamped to the APC. They were in PDP. Now everybody understands that at the time they decamped, there was no problem in APC. APC had resolved its issues since last year, right? Now, so they decamped. And because they knew that the hammer was going to come on them, they went to court by themselves.
Went to court by themselves?
Yes, to get the court. They wanted an order of the court, stopping the speaker from declaring their seats vacant. Now, they didn't get their expectation. The court ruled that indeed they were supposed to lose their seats, and what the speaker did was that he just followed the court order and declared their seats vacant. And, problems started. They went in and allegedly, impeached the speaker. Sometimes I'm not happy when I even see the media refer to one of those guys as a factional speaker. He shouldn't even be referred to as a factional speaker. He is not a speaker. Okay? There's a speaker of the House of Assembly of Akwa Ibom State. So those kind of people, the judiciary is supposed to come very hard on them, particularly when you are a lawmaker. You should understand that this is not the procedure. You are causing anarchy. And like I said, look at what they have caused. Now, why that was going on, why police came and everything, those things are recipes for more crisis. Talks coming in and all of that. Somebody could have died. Or some people could have died. you know, but you caused it. You know, so what do we do with such persons? The court should come very, 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 the judiciary should come very hard on those kind of people. It's criminal. They should go to jail for doing that, particularly a lawmaker. You can't be a lawmaker and a lawbreaker at the same time with impunity, because nothing happens to them. That's why it goes on and on. This thing went on in Anambra State when some lawmakers left Oka to Asaba to impeach the governor. I think, was it Peter Obi or Ngige also?
Peter Obi.
You know, they left it. How can you are all of that is supposed to, all your transactions are supposed to happen in the House of Assembly, but they went to Asaba in a hotel and they impeached Peter Obi. These are lawmakers. We cannot continue to brook this kind of nonsense, you know. So I think this is where we need the judiciary to really put. But I think the judiciary is also coming. It's trying. It's coming up, you know, little by little. It's making progress.
It's interesting because I was discussing this matter this morning with a friend. The law says that the party has the final say in the nomination of candidates. Then the party itself, most parties, they set up guidelines, they prescribe guidelines for this process. They don't just wake up and say, we want you here, we want you there. Parties conduct primaries and the INEC are supposed to supervise these primaries. But we know that more often than not, because like we all know, there are parties that have their catchment areas. There are parties that say have their catchment areas. So most aspirants, they feel that if they can secure the tickets of such parties, they're as good as having won elections. So that's the problem. We're not talking about independent candidacy yet in Nigeria. Parties must sponsor candidates. So you see that otherwise good candidates, otherwise good and in inverted commas candidates, when they get shut out by their parties, they can't get such, they can't aspire to such positions because they need to be sponsored by a party. And whether we believe it or not, there are just two main parties in Nigeria, the PDP and APC and PDP, whether we believe it or not. So if you're seeking to contest on the platform of another party, you must be extremely popular. You're going to spend so much money because it's about people liking what they are used to. We have for those who consume milk, we have peak milk. No matter the kind of brand of milk you bring into Nigeria, people will still prefer peak milk. It's the truth. We're very traditional people. So if you come with any party, what people know is they know PDP and APC. So because of that, these parties have become behemoths, political behemoths, to a point where, because people want to, desperate politicians who want to acquire, who want to gain power at all cost. What will it take for them to get that power? They don't want to get ticket of these parties. They're as good as being home and dry. So they do everything possible to subvert the process, even the internal process of the party. Someone was telling me about what happened in Abia APC, Abia Senatorial seat in ABC, where people came to conduct the primaries. It happened everywhere. It happened in Imo. You see, the party sends people from Abuja, a committees are inaugurated, they are given the mandate to go and conduct primaries in certain states. And they get to those states, and the persons on ground there try to induce them. They either coerce them to do their bidding, or they induce them financially. And so if the candidate who is on ground, quote and unquote, is not in the good books of the powers that be in that state, look at Lagos State, for instance, where the incumbent governor, who is very popular in Lagos, who is deemed to have been doing very, very well in Lagos, he went to contest an upstart, a gubernatorial upstart, and because the man had the blessing of the powers that be in APC, so he flogged the governor, he crushed the governor in the primaries. So as long as people participate in this internal democratic process called party primaries, and so as long as they feel shortchanged by that process, the next resort will be to the courts. And don't forget that these same people who have outmaneuvered these victims at the party level, they go to the courts too. The lawyers and the judges, they are human beings, for crying out loud. And we talk about reforms. If we don't do judicial reforms to the end, instances where lawyers are 10 times richer than judges. You know, so it's like lawyers, yes,
10
yeah,
times
richer than judges.
richer than judges.
You have, it's like you have a football coach who earns 100,000 naira, and have a player who earns 1 million naira. You cannot, such a coach cannot call such a player to order. No, it's practical. It's practical. So I know lawyers who charge up to 100 million naira for particular cases. So the judge himself, how much?
Even more than that.
Yes, how much does the judge earn?
They charge billions.
The charge. So you understand. So that is the problem we have. So if we don't do electoral reforms, and we don't do judicial reforms, these problems will keep rearing its head. And then this also leads us to the breakdown of law and order. So when people feel that there should change at the party level, then they move to the courts, and they feel that they've been outmaneuvered by, because they are lawyers. I mean, I can say this with all sorts of responsibility. There are lawyers who are friends to the bench. They are lawyers who are known to be close to judges. Who, if you want particular cases, and these are issues the agency, the issues the CJN should look into. There are lawyers who have their preferred judges. Okay, which court is this matter? They say it's this court. They say no. Let's try to move it to this court. We'll get favorable judgment. It's true. I mean, let's not live in denial. This happens. So, and then when they feel that there's no confidence in the judicial process, then they resort to self-help.
Self-help.
Like what happened in Akwa Ibom State, where people invaded. Okay, happened in the National Assembly. Because you see, if we don't, the English people say that a stitch in time saves 9. If we fail to stitch a patch, we end up having nine patches on a political garment. We had a particular instance where people invaded the National Assembly here in Abuja, and they cutted away the mace. And as we speak, the police have yet to make any arrest. They've yet to prosecute anybody for that. The National Assembly or state assemblies, they are hallowed as the courts. It's like going to court to beat up somebody sacrilege. In fact, it's even unthinkable. Yeah. It's a hallowed chamber. So for people to breach the hallowness of that, and I've done that, and on video, they are caught on camera, and as we speak, the police have failed to prosecute these persons. And then the person who's said to be the sponsor has gone to court to seek judicial cover. That you cannot touch me. I've gotten an injunction. So these are issues. These are things that make people lose faith in this process. In this process, and it's a leviathan. It's a huge thing that's going to. It's a monster that if not checked, that if unchecked, is going to consume all of us. Because if people lose confidence in the judiciary, the final arbiter in society, if people lose faith, then as Thomas Hobbes said, life will be nothing but short, nasty, and brutish. Yeah. And it's going to be very, very disastrous. It's going to have disastrous consequences for us.
Okay. To Mr. Tony, Barrister Tony here in the studios, from your legal angle, what would you say about this? How do we ensure quick dispensation of justice from your point of view as a legal practitioner?
Well, there are a few ways we can do that, and that's part of our challenge right now. We don't have. There are a lot of things that are impeding, the quick dispensation of justice. One of them is funding.
Funding.
Yes, the judiciary is not well funded. You can see the budget of the National Assembly is even more than that of the judiciary. They're just about how many of them? There are about 109 senators and about 360 or so. They're just about 400. But imagine the number of judges that we have, and we don't have enough judges So we need more judges. We need more courts, because the judges are actually overwhelmed. If you go to the court, you find out sometimes judges sit from, imagine just sitting, and listening to people and writing at the same time from morning till sometimes till 3, 4. Some judges do that every day. You're just sitting and you are writing and listening and writing and sometimes reading judgments. So that's too much for one person. So we need more judges, and I think there's been recruitments going on. As I speak, I think there's even one. I saw an advert yesterday for Anambra State, for more judges to come on board. We need more than we have, and then the fact that they are writing, they shouldn't be writing. In other climes, judges don't write. They have people who do that for them. They just sit down and listen. There are people who are doing the writing, but you are talking, he or she the judge is writing, and that's why you see you cannot you can't be as fast as you want to be because it's writing.
Of course.
After sometimes you have to take it down, take it easy. The judge will write, and then you continue, and then the judge will write. And then you see it takes before you finish your own matter when there are many cases before so after your own they take the next one, and then your own is adjourned till next month. Imagine the case that you came for today, it's adjourned to perhaps sometimes even 2 months, sometimes 3 months.
So
that's when
delays.
Yes, as a matter of fact, in the Supreme Court, the adjournments in the Supreme Court can take 1 year. They can adjourn your case. Today is 7th or so of 6th of December. Your case can be adjourned to 6th of December 2019 in the Supreme Court. We have one Supreme Court, just one. Okay? In other climes they have every state has a Supreme Court. And then what we're saying, okay, even if we have this, maybe we need to have more judges at the Supreme Court, and then we now create more Supreme Courts. Not every case should. Perhaps we can start with zonal level. Some case, let's have one Supreme Court in the Eastern Zone. Let's have one in the. I'm talking about the regions now. The regions are whatever, whatever. Have one in the Northeast, North Central, and all of that. So it's still going to be one Supreme Court, So it's all the cases, because this Supreme Court, accepts cases from all over the country.
Yes.
And do you know how many judges, how many courts we have in all the 36 states of the federation, including the FCT, and then the Court of Appeal. So all the cases from the Court of Appeal come to one Supreme Court. It's too much, and I think there are about 17 of them, and about 5 of them sit in to determine a matter, except when it has to do with the constitutional interpretation of the Constitution or thereabout. Then 7 of them will sit, Then or when they are sitting on an appeal, a presidential appeal, okay, then they sit 7, So that's how it's been. So it's very heavy on them, and then. We don't even have. I went to a court in Benue State. Unfortunately, it was Benue State.
Okay.
And then that court is terrible. It's an eyesore. The court has no air conditioner. The roof, part of the roofs of the court was almost dropping. So it's part of the funding we're talking about. There's no funding. They don't have enough of that. And so sometimes when there's no light and the place is very hot, the judge just says he can't sit, he can't continue to sit, because the place becomes very unbearable and very uncomfortable. So they have to counsel, has to just
adjourn the case.
Yes, and all of that. So it's part of the issues that we have that is impeding the fast resolution of matters in the court. These are part of it, but where funding has not really been improved. And how much are they paid? How much are judges paid? And I just told you, we're just talking about the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal, and the what do you call it now? And the High Courts. There are also other lower courts. There are many lower courts. We have magistrate court, we have area courts, we have customary courts. We have so many of them, and the truth is that they're not, and that's part of the reason why it's possible, that they can be induced, because the salary, particularly at the lower level, is very poor. They're not even
very easy.
Very, very at the magistrate level. That's why a lot of corruption goes on there, So And when we have a situation where legislators are going home with 10.3 million, that's just one aspect of it. Not all of the monies that they get in a month. Just one aspect they say they use for this thing, and they don't sit. You know, if you in my state, in my zone C, where the man comes from, where it represents us, all the House of Representatives except one. It's only one that hear his voice once in a while. The one they call what's his name, Hassan Saleh. All the others, we don't even know them. They don't talk. They just come and sit down. Sometimes they don't even sit. And this is not circumscribed to just my constituency. Most of them. Have you not noticed that there are just a few popular legislators? Everything is about it. If anytime I talk, they are always the ones contributing. There's this popular one from Jigawa who is very Kazaure, you know, inarticulate as he is, you know, and though he misses his tense, but he's one of the most popular because he's representing his people very well, always contributing. When he wants to talk, they laugh. Yes, but he's talk and it makes sense. You understand? But there's so many of them there who went to school, but who are graduates. They just come and sit down at the end of the month. They collect all that money, you know, and all of this stuff, and nothing, very little gets done.
So if we have 360 House of Reps seat, 109, we're already talking about our judicial system was being overstretched. So if political parties hold primaries for House of State of Assembly seats, House of Reps seats, senatorial seats, and say like we have 1,000 legal issues coming up from such, the primary is throwing up 1,000 more cases. Is it helping our already overstretched judiciary system? Because the issue is there's a difference between power and authority. Just like I fought the military for using the phrase Lafia Dole in the Northeast. You see, Lafia is peace. You don't enforce. If there's an element of force in peace, it's no longer peace because you don't enforce peace. Peace is something people subscribe to.
It comes naturally.
Yeah. Queen Elizabeth is the head of state of the UK. She wasn't elected. She wasn't elected, but she has authority because people subscribe. People accept her as their sovereign. You understand? So if people don't, if you can make yourself in charge of something, but people don't accept you. It happens. So if people, I know when you go to courts and courts they make pronouncements on matters, the usual response is as the court places, because it's assumed that the court has the final say, and you know that's it. So people must, even if you don't accept the outcome, you must is as the court places. So if we have party primaries, where Mr. Maya, where I disagree with him, is if you have party primaries and people are not, if the outcomes, if a party sets up guidelines for its primaries, and I'm sure most people are rational. If you adhere to such guidelines and you do the primaries with open ballot or whatever, it's direct primaries or indirect primaries, and you lose. If you lose, and most people will accept the outcome as the choice of the people. You understand? So it is when such guidelines are not adhered to, that people now want to bend those rules, and then people now decide, so they go to court. We're about 70 days to National Assembly elections. The candidates should be talking about their issues, They're talking about their prospects for the electorate. We shouldn't be talking about party tickets. We should be talking about inter-party squabbles now. That's the point. If our parties get it right, we will take a lot of burden off our already overstretched judicial system. So it's right for people to disagree. That's why, because people disagree, that's why they hold primaries. So, but if you hold such primaries and people don't accept, people feel that they should change under such processes, they go to court, and it's adding already. It's all right. That's adding more burden to our already overstretched judiciary system. That's the point.
Enough said. Thank you so much. You have said a lot this morning. Anthony,
let me just quickly add.
Okay.
That I agree with him.
Okay.
Our courts are seriously overstretched, particularly by political matters. You know, and that is because we have one of the most, with due respect, one of the most irresponsible legislature in the world. They're one of the they're the highest paid legislators in the world, and they are the laziest. They give us very little.
That's a sweeping statement.
Yeah, but that's true. We get very little from them compared to to how much they take home. And we know that's why people sell houses to contest for Senate or for House of Reps. That's why people do all kinds of. That's why they are killing to get to the National Assembly. That's why people abandon their jobs. You find lawyers who are doing very well, brilliant lawyers. They just forget about it. Look, I know somebody who told me, he's a lawyer. He told me, he said, look, if you test the money there, you can't say, as you see me, I'm not going back to practice again. Yes, that's why we have senior advocates in that place who don't want to go back to practice. Do you understand? Do you know what it means, dude? People, look, there are people who give anything to become SAN. Now you have it you have your SAN, and you keep going back. Why don't you go and practice with the SAN? Because this SAN for some people is a big deal, it's a meal ticket. Because once you become SAN, there are briefs they cannot give to an ordinary lawyer. Even no matter how brilliant you are, we have very brilliant lawyers, very very brilliant, who are even more brilliant than some of them. But because of that title, they won't give you. It brings money. Now you have it with you. But this is an easy something. And let me quickly say that. And talking about how we can fast track some of this judgment, I think
Quality,
it's about time.
rates.
I think it's about time that we also had a special court for political matters. Okay, yes, it's about time, because the reason why this impunity goes on, okay, is because they know that if they as soon as somebody defects, like you see defection going on anyhow, and it's no longer, it has become the norm. Yesterday, someone defected from APGA to PDP, and you see nobody is saying anything because they are all defectors, all of them. They defect to here and there, so everybody is quiet. The reason Akwa Ibom is in turmoil is because only a few people decamped. If they were all decamping, everybody, it's something that we're all doing. So let's leave it. So what we need to do is that the reason they do it is because they know that once you get to court, if you want to declare their seat vacant, they run to court. Once they run to court, and even by the time the judgment comes out, because of the time it takes, they will now ask for a stay, and then they will appeal, and then after they appeal, they know their case is bad. It's very deliberate, but they keep stalling it until by the time it comes out of Supreme Court, maybe the person who eventually comes in will just spend a few months. Because unlike the executive, that of governors, where where even the person stayed, like Ngige stayed for about 3 years, Peter Obi came and took over and stayed for 4 years. Unlike theirs is different. If it's remaining 1 month, like the guys who were sworn in yesterday, the guy that swore in some people yesterday, this last by-elections in Kwara, Nasarawa, and wherever, they were just sworn in, and for me, INEC shouldn't even have conducted those elections. After all, a part of Anambra, this man, what's his name?
No.
Victor.
My senator has just been there for like a year.
Victor. After that lady left, that place was vacant for almost a year. So this one, since we are going into a new election in the next 70-something days, we didn't need to go and waste that money to hold another election. So I think that
because we are running out of time already.
Yes.
In the issue of disobeying court, orders and rule and all that, what would you say? Lastly, just 1 minute, then we'll wrap it up. Because it's more like a norm now that court will decide this is our stand in this particular issue.
Yes.
And it's not. Nobody noticed. Nothing will just happen.
Well, you see, the thing is that sometimes we just leave it for history. History will judge. The thing is that the judiciary has done its job. Its job is not to enforce. It does not enforce judgment. That is the job of. That's why we have what do you call it? 3 arms of government. There's the part I cannot do. You are here. What you are doing there, I can't do it. That's not my job. Okay, so if I've done my job, it's left to you. And one day, if they don't carry out that judgment, one day, a government will come that will carry out the judgment.